Suddenly, out of nowhere, lots of people came, and they're all very, very angry. Emotions are high. This is only moments before we found ourselves trapped in a horrifying nightmare. Things have really escalated. They started beating up my local producer outside. They all attacked him, and then they started attacking the car, and now they're not letting us leave. This is the last recording we managed to get before we were attacked by a hostile mob of hundreds. But how did we end up here? More on that later in the program. This is the documentary on the BBC World Service. I'm Sahar Zand, and this week I'm in Bangladesh for the second of a two-part Heart and Soul special. We're investigating violent attacks on the Hindu minority following the collapse of Sheikh Hasina's government in August 2024. In this episode, I continue to follow Hindu university students Banamali and Sukanto, who are on a mission to document alleged atrocities against their community, often in remote rural areas. It's early morning and I've woken up to a message from Banamali and Sukanto saying that overnight they got intel that there's been another attack in a village nearby. So what else do you know about what's happened?
We have heard there is a family, their straw house was burnt by some anonymous person, we don't know.
Is anyone hurt?
No one hurt, but the house is burning.
Banamali and Sukanto show me a chilling video they've just received. Huge flames engulfing a building, while panicked men desperately throw water at it. Women and children are running, farm animals are scattered in terror. It's gut-wrenching to watch. They explain that social media, especially Facebook, often alerts them to these attacks, which they then verify through local sources before documenting them in person. Smartphones, even in remote villages, have become vital tools in exposing these horrors.
If we don't go there, then they are not get no support there. Because at first we go there, then we take the information, then we send to the information to the police, then police will respond.
And also the administrative body and how they can also help them. And also we try to give the information to the media also.
Hindu groups say thousands of attacks have occurred since August, when the previous secular government was ousted. But the Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, now heading the interim government, disputes these numbers, calling them exaggerated. Banamali says that the number of these attacks have decreased, but still happen almost daily. In northern Bangladesh alone, they receive reports of 8 to 9 incidents each week. These include rape, extortion, the destruction of homes and temples, and even murders.
We are here. Let's go out.
Oh, the smell!
Yes.
Yeah, you can still smell the fire, yeah.
A charred barn stands in ruins. Its tin roof collapsed onto scorched straw and crops. Nearby Hindu homes, now streaked with soot, narrowly escaped the blaze. No one was injured, but for the barn's owner, a paddy farmer, the loss is catastrophic, wiping out over a year's income. The residents, though physically unharmed, are visibly shaken.
This is a very horrifying. The trees are completely burned here.
And the straw house is also completely burnt. Only some of the pillars, concrete pillars, standing.
So you can imagine, you can understand what is the intensity of fire here.
When you see the other houses that are burnt like a few weeks ago, it's still horrifying. But then standing here, still seeing a bit of the smoke, smelling the fire, it just makes it feel a lot more, it just hits a lot harder.
Yes. You see here, behind this house, there is another house.
Yeah.
And also lots of houses around this. If the people are not trying to stop this fire, it may be happen that the whole village is totally burned.
The owner, blackened from fighting the fire, is still in shock and too afraid to speak on the record. Banamali and Sukanto explain that fear of retaliation keeps many victims silent, unwilling to report their ordeal to the media or authorities. Another layer of the problem. To protect the community, we're withholding the name of this village.
They somehow think that because lots of people are illiterate, they somehow think that if they expose something, then they might get attacked again.
The terrorists are trying to spreading fear.
It must be frustrating for you to see that when people are being attacked like this, they're still fearing, refusing to speak out.
Yeah. It's so much horrible, and we just so much frustrated about it that they can't speak. Right now, the voice of theirs is so down, and also they can't expose them, can't tell the police or anywhere. They just stand behind watching everything.
Surprisingly, the villagers are more open with Banamali and Sukanto, who've earned their trust as student leaders, credited with toppling the previous government.
The recent scenario of Bangladesh, the student really in power. They can only hope for the students because the political culture, they can't rely on the oldest people right now.
Sukanto often uses moments like this to deliver impassioned speeches to rally the community. What did you just talk to them about?
We talk about when you are under attack, please raise your voice. And we are trying to encourage our people that do not get fear with the students with you, and we always try to stand with you.
Why is it important to tell them these things?
They're all in fear. So if we don't, they might get up from the country.
Because we are under attack.
Most of the people are thinking about leaving the country, and they've already backed their important things.
They are prepared, ready to leave this country.
This is the plan of every Hindu in Bangladesh. We are feeling like there's nothing left in this country for us.
That's why lots of people go to the border and try to leave this country.
Sukanto recalls the chaos after the August Revolution, when attacks on minorities surged.
One side of the river was India and other side of the river was Bangladesh. And Hindus are trying to cross this river.
Scores of Hindus fled towards the Indian border, but tightened patrols on both sides stopped many in their tracks, forcing them to return home. Escaping the country is far from easy and riddled with dangers. This harsh reality fuels Banamali and Sukanto's activism, and they're taking me to meet someone who embodies these risks.
They're the members of the family.
Hello, hi, how are you? We arrive in a small mud house in a farming village to meet the family of Joyonto, a 14-year-old boy who left home days before my visit in September and never returned. He was killed by border guards while attempting to flee. His grief-stricken mother, barely able to stand, sobs uncontrollably, supported by relatives.
My son, he's just a little boy. He's still so young. It was when he found out what's happening to Hindus here that he changed. And then one day, he just left, without saying anything to us. We had no idea he wanted to run away.
What was it, do you think, about the situation in Bangladesh that made him want to escape?
His head was constantly in his phone, and he was on Facebook. That's where he found out about the attacks against Hindus, and that really scared him. I think that's why he left. And you know, he's not the only one. We're all scared. And we've heard of lots of other Hindus also trying to run away.
Tell me about the last time you saw him.
The last time I saw my boy, it was on the day he left in the afternoon. He ate his lunch right here and he was on his phone. When he said goodbye, I thought he was going to come back in a couple of hours, but he never came back. A few days later, I heard that my son is no more, that he got shot at the border. I didn't know what to say or what to do. I just got sick.
Do you want to stop? Yeah, we can stop. Thank you so much for your time. Banamali and Sukanto say that stories like Joyonto's are heartbreakingly common.
We are also feeling sorrow by saying this, but we need to stay here because if you leave this country, that will be more dangerous for you. If I stay here, if I fight for my people and fight for me, then I think I can make an environment to live here.
Yeah, I agree with Sukanto completely.
You're listening to the documentary on the BBC World Service. I'm Sahar Zand, reporting for Heart and Soul from Bangladesh, where I'm investigating attacks on the country's Hindu minority. In recent years, Bangladesh has seen a rise in Islamist extremism. While many condemn the attacks against minorities, some Islamist leaders stand accused of inciting violence on Hindus, deepening communal tensions.
We always say that Islam is the only true religion and other religions are here to corrupt people.
Mahmudul Hasan Gunovi, an Islamic scholar and preacher, commands a significant following with over 150,000 followers on Facebook and sermons attended by hundreds. He's a member of the controversial Hifazat al-Islam coalition, which includes groups previously banned for terrorism. Gunovi, who openly seeks to establish Taliban-style rule in Bangladesh, was charged and imprisoned for inciting violence during the previous regime. Released on bail just before Hasina's government fell, his fiery rhetorics have reportedly fueled anti-Hindu sentiments, sparking widespread concern over his growing influence.
What we want is Islamic Sharia laws to be observed. We want Islamic Khilafat and everybody, not just Muslims, everybody will gain their freedom. Discrimination will be a thing of the past.
During the previous regime, you were charged and imprisoned for inciting violence against Hindus. Can you elaborate on what happened?
So it's a complete lie. What happened during the Hasina regime, that regime's claim to power was by tagging anybody and everybody who is going against their regime as terrorists. I have never incited any violence against Hindus in general, and I do not have anything against common Hindus either. But what I do protest and I do dislike and do not want in Bangladesh is extremist Hinduism, Hindutva. In India there is RSS, in Bangladesh there is ISKCON. They have been trying to work towards that agenda to make Bangladesh part of the greater India. They say that Muslims are not from this land and this will be a Hindu land. So that's what I fight against.
You're not always clear in your comments, especially when it comes to differentiating between regular Hindus and Hindu extremists, which has led to some accusing you of spreading rhetorics that are anti-Hindu in general.
If you listen carefully to all my sermons, you would see that I actually draw a distinction between Hindu extremism and regular Hindus.
You say if I listen very carefully, but why don't you make this distinction more clear? Because some may argue that not doing so could mean that you're actually inciting violence against regular Hindus.
I am not denying it, what you said, that somebody can misread it and say that it's against the Hindus, but it's clearly not. And I definitely can be even more clearer. But the followers that I have, they follow me out and out thoroughly. So they know what I mean. I don't think my followers are idiots. And I don't believe that anybody would be instigated to racial violence following my sermons.
Many people I've spoken to, including Hindu activists and those impacted by these attacks, they say that the sort of things you say and rhetorics from people like you have actually played a major role in inciting the violence that they're now subjected to, because perhaps not everybody fully understands where you're coming from or is able to read between the lines.
People with mental health issues can get influenced and interpret things differently, but in general that is not the case. Whenever I preach, whenever I give my sermons, I always say that no Muslim is allowed to illegally or unlawfully harm any non-Muslim, be it Hindu or anybody.